So, welcome to the next edition of the Rare Business Podcast. With me today, I have David Politis, who is founder and CEO of BetterCloud. Hi, David.
Hi, Adrian. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, sir. And I must also thank you because David's BetterCloud is based in New York City, so it's 2 o'clock here right now, and so it would normally be first thing in the morning in New York, but he's actually in LA today, so it's now middle of the night, and so we haven't quite established whether he's got up really early or he's staying up really late. But other than that, I'd say, David, thank you very much.
Thank you.
But that aside, David, for the benefit of our listeners and readers, can you tell us a little bit about you and tell us a bit about some of the work that you do as well?
Sure. So, BetterCloud is a management and security solution for Google Apps and Office 365, the two major cloud office platforms out there.
Okay.
So our product helps organizations, especially the IT professionals within these organizations, get deeper insights and create compliance rules and manage their users and automate a lot of the daily routine tasks that they have to do within their environments. So we built this product to help those organizations that have moved to the cloud, specifically Google and Office 365.
Okay, that's perfect. Now, we were brought together because I've been banging on about proactive customer service for some time now, and we got connected because I was really excited and happy to hear that you guys are actually putting proactive customer service as a strategy into practice, and I just want to say hooray, which is brilliant because there's not many people that are actually out there doing it, leading the wave, leading the charge. So I would be really interested if you could tell me a little bit more about your strategy and what goes into it to make it work, and also like why you're doing it, really, because it's not necessarily that normal.
So I would definitely agree it's not normal. I mean, with the reason that we're doing this, when we started the company almost exactly 4 years ago, I said from day one we are going to create a unique customer experience overall, and this actually was spurred on by the experience I had in my very first company, where we looked at customer support, technical support, really as an afterthought, which I think most companies actually do, especially in the IT realm, and so we looked at it as an afterthought, and we looked at it as what do we have to do in order to get by, and what's the minimum that we have to do to keep our customers from leaving us. And it was a really looking back on it, when I left and reflect on it, it was really a terrible experience for those customers. And so when we started BetterCloud, I said in our first company meeting, we are going to do things differently from day one. Right. And it's been part of our culture. And instead of doing the minimum, we've gone over and above in every single area. And so we've been able to innovate in a variety of areas, proactive support, I would say, being one of the areas that's the most impactful to the business, and so our team put in a system to monitor the logs from the back end from the application, and to look for when customers are having issues and seeing error messages and running into problems in the product, and sometimes that's user error, sometimes that's a product problem, sometimes it's just a UI problem, right. And they monitor it, and when they see a customer have an issue, proactively, they live chat that customer in the app. So the customer has a problem, and the live chat box pops up, and it's an actual rep from the company who says, "Hey, I see you're having a problem setting up email delegation, right? And if you actually make this, and this change, that will solve your problem." Okay. And we started this about 6 months ago, and it has been tremendous.
I mean, so is it just that you're there's two things, because I've spoken to companies before, and they, and particularly technology companies, and forgive me for this, but there's in many cases, when you speak to technology companies, they'll go, "Oh, well, we can have a piece of technology that will figure that out and help us with that." But there's a soft interface which goes between, you can get technology to help you do this, but you also have to surely have the right sort of people that are going to make this kind of happen for you as well, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's the culture and the people that drives this. Because really, this was not something that I came up with. This is actually Michael Stone, who runs our support group. He just continues to try to innovate around support. To be honest, this is his first job out of school. He's 23 years old. And from day one, I pushed him, and I said, we are going to do things differently. We're going to try to push the envelope. We're going to, and he's put together these amazing, this amazing team. And like you said, it's not really, you can have all the technology you want in the world, but you can't automate this. This is something that you need people who are driven to create that kind of customer experience and who get enjoyment out of it. And that's actually what drives their job satisfaction, seeing that customers are having a great experience. And so you need the technology tools. You need to put those in place. Otherwise, it's impossible to do this. But once you have those in place, you then need a team who wants to deliver this kind of experience. And to build that team has taken us 4 years. It's taken Mike 3.5 years to build that team. And we've had to be very, very selective on who we bring on board, because this is not a afterthought for us. This is actually how we lead the conversation with customers. I would agree with you. I think that's actually the thing that's very hard to replicate is the team. You can replicate everything that's done on the technology side pretty quickly, but the team, that's hard.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to bring back to a couple of things you said. Well, one thing you said earlier, you said that this is sort of not sort of normal, and even though it's been talked about for quite a long time, it's still not very normal in many companies. But I think the funniest thing that you said when we were talking earlier was that actually Michael, who heads up your customer support and is sort of leading this and is the sort of source of this, for him, he's like, you told me a funny story, and he said that he looks at you funny when you say, when you're trying to impress upon him that this is not a normal behavior for a company, because he just believes it's just a thing that you do, and that I thought was kind of it's fascinating, because that's just the way that he is. He's going, this is the way we do it. It's the right thing to do. We should just do it, right?
Exactly, and even more so, I'd say he's constantly trying to find ways to get more tickets opened and to help more customers, which is again the opposite of what you would usually do, and what most veteran support managers would do is they would want ticket deflection. And instead, every step of the process, we used to only do web tickets. And then he said, well, why don't we put live chat in the app? That will help us get to more customers and more people will be able to open tickets. So we did that. Then he said, why don't we allow people to hang out, do video hangouts with us, video conferencing, and do it that way. And then he said, well, why don't we just open tickets through proactive support? Why don't we proactively open tickets for customers?
Nice.
So that is the complete opposite of what you would find in most people running support organizations, where they would say, let's figure out how we can deflect as many tickets as possible. He's actually saying, let me figure out how I can take as many tickets, the opposite.
Wow, excellent. So let's go down to brass tacks a little bit. And can you tell me a little bit about how this actually works in practice? I mean, and what I mean by that is, can you give me a couple of examples of how that would work for your customer, for you and a customer? I mean, give me a couple of situational sort of examples, let's say.
Sure. So to give you an example, our customers, so our product's a web-based application, cloud-based application, and customers log into the application. And again, these are IT professionals, IT administrators who are trying to take some action, set up some policy, run some report that is usually very core to their job and what they're doing right now. We look at our product very much as utility. And so you have a customer, an IT professional, logs in at 8 a.m. in the morning when they get into the office, and they have a ticket from HR where they need to run a specific report to look at some user's behavior. And when they go in to do that and they're setting up that report, there may be something in the UI where they've chosen the wrong column or the wrong row, and when they go to run that report, they get an error message. And on the back end, what occurs is that we get an alert we use Zendesk for our ticketing system,
Okay.
and so we get an alert that explains what the error was, what kicked off that error, and there are dedicated agents whose only job is to do proactive support. So they are waiting to get an alert out of Zendesk that one of these that something has occurred in the application for a specific customer. They can see the alert. They can see the customer it affected. They then log into OLARC, which is our chat product that we use that's very integrated into Zendesk.
Mm-hmm.
They log into OLARC and they find that customer who's still almost 99% of the time is still in the application. Mm-hmm. And they proactively chat that customer. Mm. And so the customer has a chat box that they already see on the bottom right corner. It opens up and it says, "Hi, this is David. I'm your support engineer. I noticed that you had an issue just now. And here's how I suggest. Did you have an issue?" Of course, the customer says yes. And then here's how you can resolve that issue. So that's how the process works. And so for the customer, it may be a minute between the time that they have this error, see this error message, a minute, maybe a minute and a half, and the time that they get this chat.
Okay, cool. And so what sort of? Sorry, were you going to say something else?
So that's if they're in the application. So I should say one other thing, which is for a while we ran into a problem where people they would see a problem in the application, or they would finish their task and they would drop out, and we didn't have a chance to have that live interaction.
Okay.
And so now what we've done is, if they're no longer in the application, we'll create a ticket for them automatically. We'll send the ticket to them and say, "We noticed you had this problem. Here's how you can fix the problem. If you'd like, you can please let me know if you need any more help. And if not, you can go ahead and the ticket will automatically be closed." And so we refined this process to make sure that we capture the people still in the application. Those are the best. I mean, that's where we get the amazing response from customers, is if they're still there live in the application.
Sure.
But we also send a ticket if they've left the application. And we have seen people come back to that. Many times they'll just resolve the problem themselves and never interact with us, but we can see that they've resolved the problem, and so that's how we handle both situations.
Okay, and I guess the next sort of dimension of this is trying to better understand. I know you're only about sort of 6 months into this sort of strategy, but it's what sort of impact is it having on your business, and what sort of feedback are you getting from your customers? Kind of, at least kind of initial sort of like feedback and impact, as it were.
So what we have seen is we have seen, I'd say, 2 or 3 different impacts to the business, and the first one, and the one that I'm most proud of, is just the customer experience is what I've always dreamed of. It's what our team has dreamed of, and customers are really very, very happy. And so at a starting point, we have created a special relationship with these customers. I was pulling some of the quotes from some of the tickets, and I mean, these are some of the things that we heard. I mean, this is one of my favorite ones. Chris was super proactive, reached out to me before I even noticed I had an issue. Super badass customer service. Keep it up, guys. Nice. The number of, very quick and unexpected. I love that. So it was a nice surprise. It's a wonderful service that you develop with your proactive support. It's the people are really, we've created this unique relationship and this unique experience, which is number one. But actual business benefits, our renewal rates are almost 100%. Customer sat scores are 99%. Customers are very loyal, and for a SaaS business like ours, it doesn't really matter that you have a customer for a year. You want that customer for 5 years, for 10 years, and you need a lifelong customer to build a big business. And so for us, that customer loyalty, that's number one. Number two, and something that I guess I always thought could happen, but I have seen start happening and it has been really amazing from a business perspective, is I'm seeing this start becoming, it's a competitive advantage for us as a company, because the couple of people that we compete with are so inept when it comes to customer support, and they do it the traditional way. Someone opens a ticket, and that ticket could take 3 weeks for the customer to get a response. So
Right.
opening up a ticket, waiting 3 weeks versus someone proactively opening a ticket for you, it couldn't be more opposite. And so it started to become a competitive advantage for us in the market, where customers are actually coming to us and saying, I've had a really bad experience with X, Y, or Z vendor.
Yeah.
And we offer this kind of support during our trial period as well to trial customers. So if someone's trialing our product, they're going to have this same kind of experience. So I think that's where we've seen it is this unique experience we've created, which has driven loyalty from our customers and very, very high renewal rates, which is a very important piece of a SaaS business, and then a competitive advantage when it comes to the other people in the space, because most people are running it the old way.
Sure.
And for them, they think of adding chat or more tickets or all these things as being very, very bad, and refraining from doing it and thinking they need 20 more people to do it. And for us, it's become just part of our DNA.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I just got to say that those sort of numbers, 100% and 99%, I mean, and they're rock star figures. And that's brilliant. So, what a great story. But the other thing I want to sort of drill into as well is because I understand that you're doing something different or thinking a different way when it comes to support calls. I mean, because I know that most firms, we're talking about there's the traditional way of doing it and then there's just sort of different ways of doing it. Most firms want to deflect support calls to lower cost channels, self-serve, all that type of stuff. And starting with self-serve and then into sort of, chat and all that sort of stuff, all that other sort of lower cost channels than sort of voice, let's say. Couple you're taking a slightly different approach. I mean, can you tell me about that and why you're going that way?
Absolutely. So a couple things. Number one, we have our team in New York, and so our entire support team is in New York City. And you can imagine that in and of itself is it's not low cost area to be running a support organization. But I wanted that organization to be close to me. I sit in New York, and that's and I like to be right next to that. So that's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, we've chosen to, like you said, do the opposite of deflect calls and deflect tickets. We've chosen to actually make as many channels open and available as possible, because my view is that if you can get in front of these issues, and if you can actually have customers raise their hand and tell you when they're unhappy or tell you when they're having a problem, or if you can raise their hand for them by finding these problems and by bringing them up with customers, that is a much better long term. That ends up paying off tremendously. And so in the short term, there are these spikes, and every time we put in a new channel and every time we put in a new initiative, we see these spikes in tickets. But what ends up happening is that we end up solving a lot of people's problems before they get to that frustration level that you don't want them to be at. And I think that when you deal with ticket deflection, which so many people are doing today, every walk of life, from my consumer, products and the banks and the cell phone companies, and from those people all the way into the enterprise, it becomes very frustrating for the buyer, for the consumer, for the customer, and I think that at some point that reaches a breaking point, and so it's better to take all those tickets up front. It's better to have all those conversations. It's better to train those customers and to help them get over whatever questions they have early on. And if you're looking at it in a very long-term view and a very macro view, it does end up paying off, because those customers are better trained. They understand how to use the application. They feel more comfortable with the application. And by the way, if they have a problem with it, they let you know, and that's helpful. It's what you should want, versus taking your head in the sand and hoping that everyone's having a great experience. You should make it very available for people to tell you that.
Well, it's funny because I just wrote a piece on Forbes couple of weeks ago, and the piece was called "Why getting or asking your customers to complain more will help you improve your customer experience, and it's exactly that.
Yes, I saw that. Yes, I saw that.
And I just thought, I love these ideas of putting things together and going, well, how can that help? And I think there's get people to talk to you more. That's one thing, but also there's this psychological benefit by people get frustrated if they get it off their chest. They're just going to feel better.
That's very true as well.
So let me kind of ask you a different sort of question. Say I've got somebody who's an entrepreneur or an executive, or team leader in a business that's thinking, well, actually, we want to get started on our own sort of proactive sort of strategy. I mean, what advice would you give them in terms of how they should get started with all this?
So I think that the first piece of advice, and this is what I said a little earlier, and I think that this is, you cannot do it without this, is the first piece of advice is you need to put together the right team.
Yeah.
And again, if you're just getting started and it's a small organization, you just need to get the right first person. And that doesn't mean that person has to have a lot of experience. That doesn't mean that person has to have run support somewhere. What that means is you have to find someone who, when you tell them you are going to be handling thousands of tickets every week, and you're going to be dealing with upset customers, and you're going to be dealing with customers of all walks of life all over the world, you're going to be, and all day, every day, you're going to be interacting with customers, but that person's reaction is a big smile and excitement. And you need to find that type of person who is really, truly, truly excited and driven by delivering this kind of customer experience. That's the first thing you have to do, because without that, this doesn't work. You can't just mandate this to a team of people who is not excited about what they're doing. You can't just mandate it. You need to find someone who's going to be your partner in this, who's going to be excited about this, and who you can work on this together, because it's that's number one. Number two is, I would say that you need to build the systems, processes, and team in general. You need to put that together before you can start doing this type of proactive support. So I'm not sure that it would have made sense for us on day one of the company to go to proactive support, because we didn't have the technology, we didn't have the reporting systems, we didn't have Zendesk set up, with OLARC set up, with our back-end monitoring system set up. We didn't have all of that, and that, like you said before, the team, I would say, is the number one thing, but the technology cannot be overlooked. You need to put in that technology in order to do this at scale, and in order to do it in a way where you can track, monitor, and improve on it, because that's the key. So that would be my answer, is it comes down to having the right person or the right team, and getting that right person, getting that right team, getting them on board with the same vision, and then putting in the processes and the systems and everything else that you need in order to execute on this kind of an initiative. And it took us almost 4 years let's say it took us about 3 years total, from when we started our support group to when we rolled out proactive support. It took almost 3 years. In the process, we continued to add other avenues. We did other initiatives, but it took us about 3 years to get there.
Fantastic. So, those are great tips. So, David, I'm just conscious of time and things. So is there anything else you'd like to add, sort of top tips for our readers and listeners before I ask
absolutely. There's only one other thing. There's only one other thing that I would say, which is another person on our team. His name is Chris Fidel. He put in recently. He put in a system now where the support agents actually grade each other's performance. It's a peer review system.
Okay.
And that has been another piece of the puzzle that continues to ensure this high quality experience, where every week tickets get chosen at random from support agent A and get assigned out to two other support agents, who then review those anonymously, go through, explain what they think is good, what's bad, what can be improved, submit that gets sent back to the original agent, and that has been going on now for about 3 months, and it's amazing to see a team helping each other get better and better and better, and learn from each other's mistakes and learn from what they do well. And I would say that that's another piece of the puzzle that we, just as a tip to everyone. Yeah. It's not necessarily just around proactive support, but how do you keep that kind of culture and instill that culture and maintain that culture and improve it and nurture it. It's by having the team really hold each other accountable and help each other grow. And it's been tremendous. Really, that's been another one of the pieces of the puzzle that it's each one of these things. It's not each thing individually. Project support is amazing. This peer review system is amazing. Our Hangout support is amazing. All these things are amazing, but it's when you put them together and it's just part of the culture and part of the DNA that's when you start seeing the biggest benefits.
Excellent. So let me share with you an idea, David, that you can maybe pass on to Chris, something for him to consider. So you know how you have sort of agents or reps or engineers that might actually have their own sort of performance metrics or get rated for their what sort of satisfaction they're delivering to customers, regardless of how high it is. There's a thing that I've heard about for the other firms have done when they take it to a next level, as it were, and it's what they do is they employ a sporting mechanism. So like in say soccer or probably in basketball and stuff as well. Well, how there's you get registered in terms of how many points you score or how many goals you score, but you also get measured on how many assists that you have.
Yeah.
It's that. So there's been people that have employed that in terms of recognizing the support that you get from your colleagues. So it's not just about serving the customer, but also kind of recognizing the assist.
That's cool.
That's a different level, man. But it's something you should share with Chris and get him to think about.
He's gonna love that. Next time we talk, I'm sure we'll have implemented that as well. That's cool. That's a good idea.
Excellent. So, David, my final question is this, which I always ask everybody that I interview on this on my podcast series: is this? Is there anything that you would like to shamelessly plug?
I think we've already done that, but at the very beginning, just talking about Better Cloud. We've like I said, we've driven we've created this amazing customer experience, and any IT professional out there any organization that's using Google Apps or Office 365, you should come check out Better Cloud. We give a free 30-day trial with all of our features, all the functionality, and all the proactive support that you can get. So come check out bettercloud.com if you're interested.
Fantastic. David, thank you so much for sharing your story and kind of how you're making this kind of work in real life, and how you're kind of knitting it into the DNA of kind of who you are and what you do. And I think it's a great story. And so just thank you very much for sharing your time and your experience with us. That's been brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.